All right, be sure to like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Apple and Spotify podcasts, and rate us on Spotify podcasts.
Just because it's truly turned into like the best of the best from across the country. And that's not what it was, when I first started 10 years ago. It was the best of the best in the Midwest, a collection of states, a handful of states. But now it truly is like, man, I can't wait for the draft to be able to say, like, oh, that guy was super 60. That guy was super, like, oh, yeah, we saw him. Oh, I was locked in on his BP round. Like, I'm really excited for that because I think there's going to be a ton of high picks coming out of this event.
All right, welcome back to episode 56 here of the Bullpen. Had a pretty busy last week with the ProCase last Tuesday, the Super 60 on Sunday, and then following the Super 60, the Unsigned Senior. So a lot of awesome stuff going on in our ecosystem here in Illinois. So, I mean, you guys got anything you want to just touch on off the riff or get right into some news?
No, it was an awesome, like, just past week, I would say. We recorded before the pro case that we had on Tuesday evening of last week, and just a great way to kind of kick off the week of high level events and really getting us into full swing here into the winter. But yeah, pro case was awesome. Super 60 weekend, is always really, really cool for a lot of different reasons. We did have the Kenosha Preseason ID as well, which draws players from Illinois and Wisconsin, and yeah, all kinds of good stuff to get into this episode here.
I mean, ProCase feels like it was like 2 weeks ago, just with the amount of stuff that we've had to do between then and the actual ProCase. But no, ProCase was awesome. We'll talk about that. But yeah, I mean, the Super 60 we obviously look forward to. We had technically five Illinois guys in it. But then the Unsigned Senior, like, it's always a fun way to cap off the night. Like, that event just keeps producing talent, and we had a good coach turnout, so I thought it was a successful night. But yeah, excited to start talking to some players.
Yeah, with us being in the full swing of events now, it just gets, like, the more players we're seeing, it gets you so much more excited for the spring. Like, we're going to talk about one school in the area later that to me was like a huge winner from the Unsigned Senior event alone, where it's like, all right, well, as we get closer to the spring, we need to pay attention to, maybe this school a little more because certain guys are making jumps for that school talent-wise. So, no, it's awesome. We're right in the thick of it. O'Hare's, coming up this weekend, and that's usually one of probably our biggest preseason ID event every year. So, obviously really looking forward to that one too.
Yeah, Tyler, before you mention your little news action there, I'll touch on Illinois basketball really quick. They're up to number 5 in this week's poll. 11 wins in a row. They have the most top 10 road wins in the last 7 seasons out of any college program. They've just been a really fun team to watch. They have, by KenPom rating, they have the best offense in like the history of KenPom, which started in 1993. So they've just been rolling. Big win on Sunday. I didn't get to watch it against Nebraska at Nebraska, who was ranked 5th at the time. Beat Purdue at Purdue last week. I can't remember if we talked about that.
Was that Nebraska's first loss, Gav? Weren't they like undefeated? Okay.
It was their second loss, yeah. But no, they've been rolling. I mean, they're really good. They're missing one of their best players right now in Kylan Boswell. He broke his wrist a couple weeks ago in practice, but he should be back here, I think, in mid-February is the thought. So I'm pumped. I mean, they've been good for a few years now, but it seems like this might be one of the best teams they've had in Brad Underwood's time. So, yeah, should be exciting to see what happens with them come March, but that's what I got on the Illini.
No, I'm happy for you that, one of your sports teams having a great year. Like, I actually sincerely mean that. It's always fun. For me, I was pretty pumped. We're sitting at Unsigned Senior Sunday night, and I get the Jeff Passan notification on my phone that the Reds actually did something. They got a power bat in Eugenio Suarez, who used to play for him in the late 2010s, early 2020s. But big-time power bat. He hit like 54 home runs last year. I would honestly just take 25 to 30 out of him this year, hitting in the middle of that lineup. But why this has significance is I see part of me always thought he played really well against the Cubs. I did not realize what a Cubs killer he was with his time with the Reds. Just a couple numbers to back this up so people don't think I'm just spitballing here. In his career, he has 36 home runs against the Cubs, which is the most against any team in his career. And also he has nearly a 900 OPS. So maybe not great news for the Cubs. I actually saw a really funny tweet from like this Cubs account, which I won't repeat the language in it, but it gave me a nice chuckle Sunday night. So really excited about that, but just a little bit of baseball news, but it's more personal than probably for the rest of you guys.
Hopefully it's all off of arms that are no longer Cubs, and it's all new arms for the Cubs. Because yeah, that's you never like that in your own division. A guy that's just tearing them up. But hey, it's good for the division. It'll make it even better. And excited to see what the Reds are doing. They just are an interesting club. They have been for the last 2 or so years for me, with some of the young guys. And I know you're a big fan, so congrats.
Thank you.
Yeah, so the ProCase coming up on a week away from when we had, I guess, probably not the best way to word that, but a week ago was the ProCase up there at Rhino and Shorewood. Guys from Illinois, Wisconsin, Indiana, and then I believe one guy from Ohio. Really good event. A lot of scouts that attended, but I'll kind of pass it off to you guys. Talk through some players, maybe just the event as a whole, whatever you want to touch on.
I mean, I'll start it off just with saying, like, I really do think it was the best ProCase we've had. The depth of talent, the high-end talent, and then you mentioned, like, the coach or the pro scout turnout as well. Probably the most scouts we've had. And I think they had a lot to look at that event, and that's what it's all about. Because not all these guys can get into the Super 60. And I expect it to continue to go that way down the road. Like, I want to make this the best winter event for Illinois, seniors to look forward to attending, and Wisconsin products, as well. I would say 93% of the attendance was Illinois, Wisconsin high school, products, with a few from Indiana and Ohio, and really, really good talent from Wisconsin as well. But, with the way that this year's Super 60 was loaded and we didn't have a lot of late drops and the roster was pretty full, there were probably anywhere from 4 to 8 guys at the ProCase that, in my opinion, easily could have fit into any of the past Super 60s, could have been invited this year. Like, it was really hard to not give some guys an invite. A Trey Cole, who leads, the ProCase in velo. A guy like Gavin Michaels, who, like, we'll talk about all these guys, but just absolutely tore up the stat sheet when you look at it and took one of the best rounds of BP there. But we were completely full on the infield as far as up the middle defenders. So a lot of that factored into it. We were able to get one position player an invite to the Super 60 and one arm. And really glad we got both of those guys in. But no, it was an awesome night. Really, it was probably the best Wisconsin guys we've had down at the ProCase as well. They got a lot of really, really good players down there. So I don't know, like, I guess getting into some of the Wisconsin guys real quick before we move on to Illinois and open it up to you guys on whatever you want to say about the event. Like, I thought Mason Schmidt, he's a Wisconsin Milwaukee. They had 2 really, really good commits there, I thought. Mason Schmidt and Ian Kaczynski's also a Wisconsin Milwaukee commit, and I really liked what he brought to the table defensively. Like, he was one of my favorite infielders, watching him roam around the infield. And I mentioned Mason Schmidt. Like, he was the first arm out of the gate, and it was coming out hot at 91, 93, throwing a ton of strikes. Looked like a starter to me. Had 2 different breaking balls, and I really, really liked the spin. I thought both of them had put away potential, like plus offering potential, and he showed a ton of feel. So he was a huge winner for me. Chance Ruby's been a long time performer for the Wisconsin staff. Like, he was a future gamer. He's a UIC commit, and UIC had a couple commits there at the ProCase that night. Took a really sound round of BP, was one of my favorite infielders as well. And then along the same lines, Caleb Ligon, whose twin brother Ezra, is a left outfielder. He was at the Super 60. Caleb is a right shortstop, committed to Bradley. man, it was the best I had seen him. Both those guys were senior future gamers down in Georgia for us this past late July. And both continue to get better. They were both like two sport athletes in high school, big time basketball players. But man, Caleb was all over the barrel in BP and moving really good on the infield, accurate arm, quick release, all that good stuff. Vince Bitter was another arm going to ISU, Illinois State, and just looks like he's going to be a really, really good college arm. Was up to 93. Like the slider as well with some spin attributes over 2,500. So just wanted to shout out those Wisconsin guys. I know it's not a Wisconsin podcast here, but man, like if we're talking about the ProCase, like those guys need to be mentioned because hopefully that's how it's going to be moving forward. Is like just as many really good Wisconsin players as Illinois players because they're in the same boat as we are as far as the Super 60. Like there's a ton of good players in Wisconsin, ton of good players in Illinois. It's getting really hard to get into that Super 60 event. So, man, let's keep crushing this ProCase. And really good feedback from the pro scouts that were there as well. And excited to follow all these guys that were in attendance. So you guys can get in there with anything you had, any Illinois guys you like that you want to lead off with. But I guess I didn't mention the two guys that earned Super 60 invites, so feel free. I think one of them might have been a pick to click over there.
Yeah. First off with Anthony Chavez, first baseman out of Mount Carmel. Was my pick to click on our previous episodes where we kind of went around the horn with our guys who we thought would have really great nights. And honestly, I want to give our entire pod here some love because Gavin, yours was Caleb Cox, who then earned a Super 60 invite. And I'll get right back into Chavez, I promise. And then Hammett, yours was Gavin Michaels, who had a great night. And then unfortunately for Drew, he had Caden Shotzik, who just couldn't make it to the event, but no doubt in my mind he wouldn't have put up a big round of numbers as well. So with Chavez, like ran a 6.7 760. He was 86 from first base, which to me is pretty above average arm strength for that position. But kind of what we assumed, it was a super loud round of batting practice from the left side. He was up to 107.8 off the bat, average 98.7. Had an average distance of 296 with a max of 388. And if you think these numbers are impressive, just wait because he somehow topped them just a few days later at the Super 60. But he also led the ProCase in average hand speed at 24.5 miles an hour. So not only was it a heavy barrel through the zone, he had some quick hands as well. But just kind of what we've become accustomed to seeing with Xavi is dude's kind of a gamer. And, it's sometimes hard to see that in a showcase setting, but he just always rises to the occasion, and he continues to get better, which is what you always want to see with these guys. None of these guys just plateauing. So I know we all remain very big fans of Anthony Chavez, and we'll kind of get into his big day at the Super 60 here soon.
I mean, he was the first run of the day, Tyler. Also the only left-handed hitter there. But I mean, it's always like kind of tough when that first round of the day is like that good and you're like, oh man, like it kind of messes with the eyes a little bit. You're like, is this kid really this good, or is like, am I just off? And he was that good. Like he had an awesome round. It was on the barrel, it was up the middle of the field to the big parts, both gaps. But to him, like with him, he's like a true advanced defender at first base where it is like an asset. And a lot of times first basemen are just kind of like, you just throw them over there because they can't really play anywhere else, right? And they're like, they got it, they can hit, but he's like a legit weapon over there. So much so that I think he could move to the outfield if he needs to, because the kid could really run. And he's fluid. Like the movement patterns are good. Like I think it could shift to the outfield if needed eventually. But you're right. He showed amazing, and the Super 60 was even better. So we can touch on that in a little bit.
And then that second guy I mentioned was Caleb Cox, and Gavin, feel free if you want to get in here.
No, I'll let you talk on his bullpen, but I just wanted to mention at the Super 60, I was just talking to him up in the bullpens before he was throwing, and it was the first time I had ever interacted with him. Really, it was at the Super 60, and he just seems like he's got like a really good head on his shoulders. Incredibly athletic family. He was telling me his dad played up to AAA with the Giants. His mom is a volleyball coach. I believe she played volleyball in college. His sister is a volleyball player at UIS, I believe. So he might have had a brother too in there. I don't remember for sure, but like super athletic family. Seems like a really good kid. And I mean, every time we see him, he just keeps keeps getting better. So Tyler, I'll let you touch on his performance.
Well, it all kind of adds up if his dad, was playing pro ball, because you can definitely tell there's some pro bloodlines with Caleb. Like, man, it was super impressive on the mound. I remember Drew walking over and just being like, wow. Like, I don't know. In my opinion, I feel like it takes a lot for Drew to really be super impressed with a guy, just with all the stuff we see. And everybody, I feel like the talent in Illinois just keeps getting better and better. But, he was 92 to 94, touched to 95 at the ProCase, was ripping off a very real breaking ball. And on top of that, like, I loved his splitter. To me, that's a pitch that's honestly really in vogue right now with high schoolers, it seems. I feel like I've seen more splitters these first 2 weekends of events than I probably did in the last 2 years of us doing events. But, the splitter was 78. It averaged negative half an inch of IVB, which is pretty ridiculous. He was also throwing a changeup at 81, 84. But for me, like, the fact that he was able to throw a slider for strikes too in a bullpen setting, like with those TrackMan zones, those can be a little hit or miss, but like 67% with a slider is pretty impressive considering he's running up in the low to mid 90s. So I'll let any of you guys touch on Caleb, but I thought at the ProCase it probably was the best pen.
I'll get in there, and I don't know, you maybe said it, but Anthony Chavez, Illinois commit, and then Caleb Cox, he's a Northern Illinois commit. And you kind of mentioned how it did wow me. Like, it's one of those guys, you see him move, and just the elasticity and the whip and the arm speed that he had stood out. The way the fastball was just jumping out of the hand. And then too, like, he passes the eye test. It's broad shouldered. It's a super high waist. It's long levered, and there's like no stiffness in the body whatsoever. And just there's something about the way he moves down the mound, the way the fastball jumps out of the hand, where it's like this kid could very easily be throwing 100. And that's kind of when he came to the Peoria Winter ID last year. I think we said it on the podcast. Like, it wouldn't surprise me in a couple of years if this guy's throwing extremely hard. I still think that way. The velo has ticked up a little bit since he was like 90, 91 at that event. And he has started to polish up the repertoire. But what I love, and he showed it even at the Super 60, is like he is so far away from a finished product. Like, it is still very, very raw from a pitchability standpoint, from just everything he has going. And that to me is the most exciting thing, is like this clay that he has so much more room to be molded and grow into what it's going to be. Like, I really can't wait for him to, whatever that next level is for him, whether it's Northern Illinois, pro ball, whatever, but like, so people to just continue to get their hands on him. And in 4 or 5 years down the road, I think we're going to be seeing Caleb Cox, making all kinds of jumps, and be able to look back and be like, yeah, we saw this coming. So it was, first off, just great that he drove up from Springfield. Like, Springfield is a hotbed for arms. It long has been, especially when you factor in the Glenwood area down there. And it kind of reminds me of how, like, Reed Detmer's dad was, AAA with the Cardinals. And then Reed he was an absolute stud, and his brothers were studs and are studs. But Caleb Cox down there in Springfield, these central Illinois towns, man, are always producing arms. Central Illinois, Southern Illinois, in all pockets of the state, whether it's Effingham, whether it's that Metro East area this past, the 2025 class, the amount of arms that came out of the Metro East area is just crazy. So Caleb Cox will be a guy we'll be tracking down this spring. I'm excited to see him throw in game. He is at a smaller high school, so I don't know the quality of hitters he'll be facing, but that's okay. We're gonna see the fastball, control what the breaking ball looks like. Hopefully that splitter in game. See if he, how he holds runners, how he's, his composure on the mound. I'm really excited to just see him now in a game atmosphere, because I love the raw tools and the raw ability of him. And sorry that I'm going forever on this, but like, there's just so much to talk about when it comes to Caleb Cox. And I mean, you guys said it all with Anthony Chavez. Like, he's a huge fan favorite, made huge jumps, tore up the senior future games, and just he's been on a torrid pace for the past year. So that's what I got. Sorry. Get in there with anything else, but
No, I couldn't agree more. Like the kid's not even scratching the surface of like what he's gonna be. I mean, small town kid, like you said, whatever that next step is, like there's a ton of clay to mold and work with there, and like he's gonna be special. You can just tell. But I want to move on to Gavin Michaels, my pick to click. Arguably one of the better, if not the best showing all around on the day. Like ran a 6.4 to kick things off. I really was in on the swing in the round of BP. It's really flat and athletic and loose, averaging 100 miles an hour up to 103. Farthest ball 391, so he's got some juice in that frame. But I mean, I'm just really in on the athlete. Up to 93 across the infield as well, and he's a kid that in years past probably gets invited to the Super 60 off of that. But just with how talented and deep the roster was this year, like it just wasn't in the cards. But I mean, he deserves his flowers. That kid deserves to be on some pro follow list this spring, and I'm sure there will be guys out to see him. But yeah, I just came away once again really impressed with him. The tools continue to get better.
Get in there, Gab. I know you were going to say
No,
something. I was just going to say, with the Super 60, like there were actually more position players and hitting groups and arms than there were last year. So it was just extremely tight. Like we were blowing up Shooter Hunt's phone, telling him about all these guys. Had a call after the pro case, trying to. We were actually hoping there'd be, some guys calling in saying they couldn't make the Super 60 so we could get even more of these pro case guys in there. Because you said it, like Gavin Michaels, man, that is the caliber athlete player that should be at the Super 60. But go ahead, Gav. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, he's continually gotten better. I feel like, just metrically and just as a player in game. But the thing that's pretty impressive about him too is like, I feel like he hasn't gotten that much more physical. Like his frame hasn't. It's not like he's gotten to be like some massive jacked human being right now. Like it looks like he still has that ability to grow into his body more, and he's already this athletic with this kind of strength. Like averaging 99.9 off the bat is crazy, with the fact that he probably can't add a ton of strength still. So I'm curious to see how he continues to develop over the next few years.
I couldn't agree more. Like the exit velocity numbers coming out of that frame is wild, and that just speaks to the twitch and just the way he can leverage his body and how athletic he is. And I agree. Like there's gonna be more in there, and he does it with relative ease too. It's not like he's swinging from the shoulders. Like it's a handsy swing that stays on plane, and man, he's backspinning the baseball. So like Gavin Michaels, long been a fan favorite of ours, and like keeps getting better. Going to Cincinnati, you guys may have said that, but there's a couple schools here that there's a couple repeat schools that had a lot of commits in attendance, and just want to make sure I give them their flowers as well. But really, like I guess I kind of just want to take like, okay, so Gavin Michaels was from normal community. Like there were 3 normal community prospects at this event, and then a 4th in Gavin Schwartz easily could have been Super 60 type guy, pro case guy, committed to Indiana. But like normal community, they are primed to make a run this spring. I mean, you watch the way Max Heineman swung the bat during BP. Like the guy is all over the barrel. There's so much intent. There's so much feel to hit in Max Heineman. It just continues to impress every time I see him. And he's a UIC commit. Like they had a couple of UIC commits there. But then you look at Drew Stevens, normal community as well. Like he may be the guy that impressed me the most, just with he's a guy that like Max Heineman was a junior future gamer, in 8th grade going into freshman year. Like we've known these guys for so long, and to just see Drew continue to like, he must work his tail off, because you look at his body, the way that he's gotten physical, like that guy's getting after it in the weight room, and to see him just gradually progress and get better and more physical, and like the hit tool to me has come so far for Drew. Not that he was ever like below, like he's always been a good hitter, but like, man, he was juicing balls to the pull side. I think there's even more strength to come in that frame. Like I think he's going to have a lot of pull side power down the road. I'm really excited to see what Drew Stevens does this senior season and then beyond, because man, I don't think he's slowing down anytime soon.
I mean, ironically, Stevens and Heineman were my 2 catchers on the same JFG team. And yeah, Max was always that really like polished bat. And Stevens, like you can tell he just has that makeup of like he's gonna work his butt off. Like I remember him not getting like mad at me, but like I had to break the news to him that he can't catch every inning of every game because we have another catcher in Max that needs to catch as well. So, I mean, he's just that kid that works his tail off. You know, he wants to be out there grinding, and it's paid off, and it's been really cool to see. So happy for both of them.
Yeah, and I think we should just stay on the topic of catchers because honestly, our catcher crop was so good this night. Like Adam Swanson for me, out of Ottawa, going to Bradley, like that kid just continues to put up loud numbers across the board and show tools across the board. With Swanson, like heck of an athlete, 6'5", 60. From the crouch, he was 81, but in the outfield, he's 91. Which I feel like is a rare combo of a guy who could catch but also probably play center field at the next level. And I think Swanson could do either at Bradley. With the bat, right-handed, 102 mile an hour max EV, averaged 96.2, had a 372-foot max distance. But with Adam, like, it's so impressive the strides he's made defensively. I feel like year over year. This was a guy who was on our Future Games team 2 summers ago, but also played a ton of outfield because our catcher group was so loaded. And just the catch and throw to me just continues to get better and better. So want to give Adam his props there because he's clearly a kid that just gets after it in all facets of his game. So
yeah, without a doubt, like that kid, I think he'd be the first to tell you, like 2 years ago, like defense was not his, carrying tool, but it continues to get better. Like he's always been an athlete that can hit. It's a compact, strong swing. Like he hits in game. So that's always been there. But like you said, like he can play the outfield. The catching is like noticeably better. To where it's definitely like he could catch at the next level. The kid just works his butt off, and it's awesome to see. I'm glad for that kid.
No, I love one of my favorite things too about the ProCase is like being able to say, hey, you're talking about Adam Swanson, like future gamer, also a senior future gamer, Anthony Chavez, senior future gamer, Brandon Thompson, who I think we're going to get into here. I love to, St. Viator High School, Purdue commit, like another guy that we've got. They've been at high level events for us in the past and they've always performed, but like they keep getting better. They're clearly working at it. Like Brandon Thompson, to me, he's long been one of the top catchers in the class, and like it wowed me at the ProCase. Him coming out of the chute, and like pop times are, whatever. You can say what you want about pop times. I'm not a huge like get super excited about some low pop time in a showcase. Like there's so many ways to cheat a pop time in a showcase. For me, it's about the action, how quick you are out of the crouch, how you present your glove, how do you move. But like, man, he does it all right. It's very directional. He stays low out of the crouch, and that arm is out front and electric. The ball was carrying, playing true at 84 miles an hour, and every throw was on the bag. He would have been right towards probably the mid to upper echelon of the Super 60 catchers that I saw. Now, there were a couple that it was maybe the best catching, defense I had ever seen. This year at the Super 60, there were 2 guys in particular that flat wowed me. But Brandon Thompson was right there with like the next crew. Super, super impressive round of defense for him. He also ran a 6.85, and he's physical. Like he's got all kinds of juice in the bat. It's 105 max EV. His max distance was 418, which, would have been a top 20 max distance at the Super 60. Just really awesome to see Brandon continue to work, continue to do his thing, and show like elite tools across the board. So that's what I had on Brandon. And definitely worth a mention there because you guys said it. Like the catching crop at this ProCase was really, really impressive.
yeah, long been a fan of Brandon. I since I saw him his sophomore year, went out to a game to cross him off to make sure we weren't missing anything and see if this kid was worthy enough for future games, and he was, and then some. It's just been really fun to see a catcher that's that legit defensively. To me, in my opinion, not to get on a soapbox, but I just feel like catching defense is just kind of a little bit of a lost art, but not with Brandon Thompson. Another catcher we need to get into is Dylan Kassab out of Hinsdale Central, going to Indiana. Like, man, Dylan was banging some baseballs during BP. He's long been a physical right-handed hitter with juice, and continued to show that at ProCase. He had a 106.2 max EV, averaged 95.9. We'll give him a 6 there. Also had a 403-foot max distance. And then defensively, like another guy who continues to get better, continues to tick up there in my opinion. He was 79 miles an hour out of the chute. Had a 193 to 207 pop time, but Kassab's a guy to me, like, could easily play first base at Indiana. Like, he did it for us at future games. I know I've told this story on this podcast before, but it's a kid who just plays with his hair on fire. And a great kid, like a great personality. Like, Coach Mercer over there at Indiana's going to love having this kid in the dugout. Like, he's just seems like a great kid, and I can't emphasize that enough. So we're all really rooting for Dylan.
Yeah, really in on the raw power and just the upside he has there. Like, the kid looks like physically like a man, but again, that young face where the kid, like, he's going to get more physical and stronger. And if he's already banging baseballs that hard, 106 with over 400 feet with wood, like, imagine that kid in 2-3 years with, Indiana's strength program and in the weight room with them. So I think it could be pretty scary, but no, like you said, like, he can throw it behind the plate. He's got arm strength. Could shift to first base if needed, but he's a sneaky one for me that I really like.
And I mean, Kassab was a future gamer, and I'm gonna get into another future gamer, Jory Crocker. Man, when Jory was at the future games, we let him pitch and hit because it's really, really interesting on the mound. It was upper 80s with a good breaking ball, all kinds of extension down the mound as well. But I loved him at the ProCase. Like, hadn't seen him in a while actually, so was really excited to get a look at him, and man, like, did not disappoint. Not like an elite burner with the 60, but a well above average runner. I don't know the exact, I think he was like a 6.85 60, but his round of BP, like, all over the barrel, really loud, up to 104. And I think it was all of our, like, some of our favorite round of the day. That's maybe not the right way to put it, but we all really liked his round of BP, and I would say it was an upper third round of BP at the ProCase. And then, like, gets on the infield, and it looks all day like a left side of the infield guy to me. Everything was clean, easy. He was gliding across the infield. It was a, ability to throw from multiple angles, and it played really accurate across. That's the other thing, like, talking pop times and showcases is, yeah, okay, an infield number, like, you throw 96 across the infield, yeah, that's going to stand out, but that's not what I'm looking for. Like, really all it comes down to is, do you have enough arm strength to play the left side of the infield? And then how does your arm play? Do you throw a true ball across the infield when you need to? Are you athletic enough to throw from multiple slots? Do you have feel, and are you accurate? And man, Jory, like, he does have a well above average arm strength if he needs it, but I felt like he was playing very much like in rhythm and in control, and was not trying to show off some, like, huge arm by crow hopping 4 times. It was the way you should play defense, and that's what I love to see. Like, he sucked up every ball to him, turned the double play. Really just impressive overall showing for me about, with Jory. Arizona commit as well. I don't know if I put that in there.
And let's talk about another future gamer who was awesome at this event, which I feel like has just been a super common theme right now, is future gamers that had great nights. But Nolan Ramley, outfielder out of Brother Rice, going to Northwestern. Hammett, you've got some really good notes here, so I'm going to let you get in on him. But just want to touch on his numbers, like 107 mile an hour max EV, average 98.8. 409 max distance, and it felt like he was absolutely destroying baseballs during BP. So to see the number back that up is nice. Like, he's 96 from the outfield. He's long been tooled up, and those tools just continue to impress. But also ran a 6.6 360, and he led the event and average bat speed at 78.6 miles an hour. So, Hammond, I'll let you touch on him a little bit more.
No, I mean, he's always been that tooled up kid, freaky. But, like, yeah, I thought the round of BP, like, it wasn't just turn and burn, right? I thought it was quiet, controlled, with some aggression, and on the barrel, which is great. And I thought the outfield actually was just as if not more impressive. Like he was floating out there. He was athletic, fluid, and the arm was playing really good. It was up to 96 miles an hour, and it looked really clean, coming out of the hand good, playing with carry. Like it was an eye-opening round, both with the bat and in the outfield. And like you said, he's tooled up. He passes the eye test in every single way. That kid's going to be one that pro scouts are definitely, going to see this spring. And if not this spring, then definitely in the coming years, because he's got a chance to play baseball for a long time.
Yeah, another former future gamer, Northwestern commit, and we said it about Gavin Michaels, but it was like, how can you not pound the table for Nolan Ramley getting in the Super 60? All those numbers, warrant him being in there. We've seen him, perform in game. I've seen him one thing that really stood out to me when I saw him play this past spring was, a junior in high school at the time, and he got fisted. Fastball got in on him a little bit. He got fisted, and it pushed the outfielder to the warning track. Like, it just speaks to just how big of a, physical freak he is, how tooled up he is. And if he can continue on this trend, continuing to get better every time we see him, man, the sky's the limit for Nolan. Because you can't teach the things that Nolan has. So really excited to see what kind of senior season he has for Brother Rice. Another program, we mentioned Normal Community, another program that's just, poised for a really good season, coming off a state finals appearance as it is.
Yeah, let's move over to pitchers, because for my money, I felt like, this was kind of a common theme between us when we were talking just after the event. Like, our arms at this event were maybe the best we've had, at least in my 3 years of doing this. Like, felt like top to bottom, every arm was just incredible. Last pin of the day was Trey Cole out of Champaign Central, going to Wright State. Like, man, it was pretty loud. 90 to 94. He touched 95 on his last pitch of the pen. For me, I thought he was throwing a real changeup. Could go get outs right now at Wright State if need be. That's how good I thought it was. 82 to 84. With Trey, I think continuing to firm up his breaking ball is just only going to elevate him. To me, I think it was just a little bit behind in this pen, but man, can't say enough good things about that changeup. I thought it was up there for maybe the best off-speed pitch of the night. Next arm I want to touch on is R.J. Duncan. Gal, I know this is a fan favorite of yours, so feel free if you want to hop in. But love RJ, like another future gamer. Trey Cole was also a senior future gamer. I should mention that as well. But RJ, future gamer for us, out of East Peoria, committed to Illinois State. Just that kid has such a what's the word I want to say? His personality and his vibe on the mound. It could be a game. It could be, just a bullpen, like just a competitor. And he's very intense on the mound and in a good way. Like, he's super focused. Just love what he's about on the mound. But he was 91 to 92. Was also throwing 3 off-speed pitches at a curveball at 75 to 76, slider 78 to 79. And I thought both breaking balls had really good bite on them. And then he was also rounding out his mix with a changeup at 83 to 84. But a lot to love with RJ. Like, another guy that is not going to surprise me at all that he's going to have success at the next level.
Yeah, he strikes me as a guy like that will, and I hope it doesn't come off as not, because I don't mean it that way. I mean it as a complete positive, but like a perfect 1 or 2 inning guy at Illinois State. Go in there, light it up. He has a really good breaking ball, where I feel like he can get a lot of swing and miss, a lot of outs with it. He's a guy, honestly, if he threw some innings in the Missouri Valley right now, I wouldn't be surprised if he could go in this spring and get some outs. He's just a really good arm, and it impresses me. And I think, again, a great bullpen guy, 6th, 7th inning, and just go cruise and go crush it there for an inning or 2.
Yeah, and last arm I want to touch on here is Henry Humes out of Homewood Flossmoor. We're going to touch on Homewood Flossmoor a little bit more here coming up, but for me, he's committed to Northwestern, I should say that, but I thought it was the best Henry's look probably in all of my looks at him. He's long been that long levered kid, and with those guys, we've touched on it before, like it's really hard to sync up your levers and throw strikes, especially, when you're that young. But he's getting older now. He's going into his senior year, and I thought everything was just very well synced up well in this pen. Like he was 88 to 90 with the fastball. I loved his split change. It was kind of like that Vulcan grip that's kind of in vogue right now as well. Like 76 to 77, and I thought it played really well off his fastball. Has that true tumble, as well as some fade to that arm side, and then he was also mixing in a slider at 77 to 80, with above average spin there as well in the 2300. So really liked Henry. Like for me, big time arrow up, and excited to see what he does in his senior season.
Yeah, giving me starter vibes, and that's what you love to see. RJ's got dynamic stuff. We'll see what happens with him as far as, bullpen or starter. And I know, Gavin, you mentioned it because I think you nailed it. Like, he's got the demeanor, too, RJ does, to play in kind of the back of a bullpen. But Henry Humes, starter profile, like two really good commits, I think, for Northwestern. I think Henry, like, if he can continue to develop physically, he's going to see the velo continue to climb. And as long as he keeps pitching, man, it's going to be pretty dynamic moving forward.
Yeah, Tyler, I remember I came up to you after that because, you were obviously locked in on all those arms. I was kind of in and out around the event, but I did get to see Henry Humes' entire pen, and I just thought the polish was really impressive. And I went up to you and was like, man, I feel like he's throwing 3 pitches for strikes. And it was, again, really easy, not a ton of effort, and the off-speed looked really good too. So, yeah, I was impressed, and I hadn't seen a ton of him in the past, just being up in the Chicago area, so that was awesome to see. And,
we could probably talk for hours on the ProCase, Gavin. I don't think we're going to go through every arm or every position player that was there, even though they probably could warrant, multiple takes by us going across and back and forth. But regardless, awesome event. Really, really good way to kind of get this impressive weekend going and week going. But an event that was kind of sprinkled in there up in Kenosha. Kenosha Preseason ID, and I just wanted to mention one guy that I actually was not at that Kenosha event, but our Wisconsin guys came back talking about Ryland Lamp. Lake Zurich, he's an unsigned senior, and I love that. Like, guys that pop up, unsigned seniors that should be known by college coaches. Didn't pitch much last year for Lake Zurich, from what I understand, if at all. Has seen a little jump in velo from what we saw last summer. He was like 80, 82, but he was 84, 86 at this event. And I think the thing I should have probably said first is he's 6'8", 190 pounds. So obviously he stands out immediately. He's a guy that I think, needs to be on a lot of people's radars. He was also throwing a slider at 74, 76 with late and lateral action, and then had a splitter in the upper 70s as well. First off, excited to see what he can do for Lake Zurich, who had a really, really good squad last year. Coach Parola over there will have him, hopefully in their rotation, or I guess what's the better way to put it, in the mix of just arms that can get quality innings for them. But Ryland Lamp, one of the biggest takeaways as far as the Kenosha Preseason ID and Illinois prospects, because there were some good Wisconsin guys there as well, Gavin. And then, that was on Saturday, and the big event here was on Sunday up at the Max in McCook, where it's been now for, since the early 2000s. Maybe since like 2008, 2009, it moved over to the Max, and I think from all accounts was maybe the best Super 60 we've ever had. From talent, the way it ran, pro scouts, agents, just people in attendance. So, if you want to introduce it any other way, Gavin, I don't mean to steal your thunder, but it was an awesome Sunday. And we run the Unsigned Senior on top of that as well. And the Unsigned Senior had a ton of takeaways as well. So, unfortunately, like I would say from an Illinois director standpoint, like we don't have a ton of Illinois guys to talk about. We did invite some guys, like you look at an Ethan Bass of the world, you look at a Landon Tomey, Jack Slidham, like some of the top guys in the Illinois class did not attend. They were invited. We would love to have them. I would love to talk about what we saw on Sunday there, but like let's talk about the guys that were there because there were some really, really good performances.
Drew, one thing I was going to ask you, and I don't want you to answer it because you already answered this. But I was going to ask you how the event has evolved since you first came. But actually, keep an eye out. There's going to be a video I think here soon of Drew talking about that as a whole. If you're interested in how he's seen the event change and things like that, I thought you had a pretty good answer. So
No,
just wanted to
appreciate that.
mention
Get a
that.
plug in.
Yeah,
Get a plug in right there, Gab.
yeah, there you
Appreciate
go.
it.
Yeah,
No, because it has evolved and it's been really cool to see. Just because it's truly turned into like the best of the best from across the country. And that's not what it was, when I first started 10 years ago. It was the best of the best in the Midwest, a collection of states, a handful of states. But now it truly is like, man, I can't wait for the draft to be able to say, like, oh, that guy was super 60. That guy was super, like, oh, yeah, we saw him. Oh, I was locked in on his BP round. Like, I'm really excited for that because I think there's going to be a ton of high picks coming out of this event.
Well, I'll throw a couple shout outs out. First to Shooter Hunt, who does all the legwork on getting this roster assembled. And also to Andy Soroka, who gave us all this like stats and info for this little tidbit. So a ton of records were broken this year or like tied or a bunch of these guys, and even our Illinois guys ended up on like the all-time record book for this event, I guess I'll say. I'll start out like Dominic Batista, tied to record the 7th hardest hit ball in the event's history at 108.5. Anthony Chavez tied to record the 9th hardest hit ball at 108.3. Both Batista and Chavez broke the previous highest average exit velocity record. Batista had a 104.1 and Chavez had a 103.9. Cam Jenkins and Anthony Chavez had batted balls over 415 feet each, and both of them had at exactly 417 feet for their max. And then lastly, high school teammates TJ McQuillan and Anthony Chavez each entered the top 8 in all-time average rotational acceleration with blast at 27 Gs and 26.2 Gs, respectively. The 27 for McQuillan is 5th all-time, and the 26.2 for Chavez is 8th all-time. So where I sit, like that's really impressive that our guys not only, come, but they show out and, now they're, kind of in history for this event. Like, especially for a guy like Anthony Chavez, right? We kind of touched on it. He was a late ad due to what he did at the ProCase, but for him to then not only back it up, but he was probably better in all facets at the Super 60 on that type of stage, I think is really impressive. So I'll kind of open up the floor to you guys on where we want to start here.
I mean, let's stay on Chavi. Like, I thought, like, he only got better as he went on. Like, I thought the first round was a little inconsistent, and then the second round, like, was barrel after barrel. And you can tell he was getting more comfortable, getting more confidence as he went. It was just a great showing. I mean, it was even louder than the ProCase, like we said. He ran even better. He ran a 6.68 this time. And again, took a great round of defense. So, like, that kid, like Tyler said earlier, rises to every occasion, every stage we put him on. He shows out. He deserved to be there every bit. Even some pro scouts that I was talking to, I was doing the scout check-in. I had to tell every single one of them, like, yeah, here's their player contact, here's the position players, here's the pitcher sheet, and we have one right in, it's Anthony Chavez from Illinois. And the guys that knew him or knew of him from the Midwest were like, oh, good. Like, okay, good. We wanted to see more of him. Some of them were even like, oh, like, good. Like, he deserved an invite from the ProCase. So they were glad we did that, had him come to Super 60. Saturday morning, Shooter was telling me about all the kids from the Carolinas that were, like, maybe going to miss flights. And I was, like, thinking, oh, man, like, maybe Chavi gets the invite. And we found out later that day that he did. So really glad it worked out. And man, I mean, that kid put on a show.
Yeah, really happy he got that invite. But let's stay at his high school. We kind of touched on it briefly, but TJ McQuillan was also in attendance, another left-handed hitter. The fact that Mount Carmel's got, they're going to be able to have both those physical left-handed hitters in the middle of that lineup seems a little unfair. But TJ had a 105.5 max EV at the Super 60. as well as a 380-foot max distance, and then he averaged 74.9 miles an hour with his bat for bat speed, and then like I talked on earlier, 27 G average rotational acceleration. So he also swung it well, and yeah, like I said, like pretty nice embarrassment of riches for Coach Hurry over there at Mount Carmel.
Yeah, I mean he's one that like he as the frame continues to get better. Like he is shedding that like kind of baby fat that he used to have, and it's like he's getting strong. It's like wide close hanger shoulders to like a narrow waist with big legs. Like he's clearly putting work in. And it's like a middle of the order power bat, you know. And I know he's been dealing with he had the hammock bone injury, which is a that's tough for hitters. So, and that was in like December he was dealing with that. So he's like not far off that, and be able to put up those numbers coming off that this fast is impressive. And I think that kid, that kid's gonna hit no matter what level he goes to next, whether it's pro ball, whether it's college. He's gonna find a way. He's long been a kid that hits for us. And yeah, I mean, corner infield profile. And he can run a little bit. I know he didn't run this day, but he's been around the 7 mark in the past, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's even a little under that now, especially with how the frame looks.
We've probably buried the lead long enough on this guy, but it's time to talk on Dominic Batista out of Oswego East. Like, huge winner from the event, I think, not only from where we sit, but also with our guy Shooter Hunt. I think, he kind of teased it on his War Room episode last week that there was an outfielder out of Chicago land that he was really excited to see and thought he was a sleeper for the event. And Batista did not disappoint at all. Ran a 6.5 360. He was 93 from the outfield. But also on top of like the arm strength from the outfield, that kid just floats in the outfield and he moves so well. But from the left side, he had a 108.5 mile an hour max EV, average 104.1, which is just so ridiculous. And a max distance of 413 feet. He also had a 93% hard hit percentage, which is the amount of balls hit over 95 miles an hour. Not much of a surprise there considering what his average EV was, but and then I might have touched on this earlier, but like 6th highest max bat speed for the event, 79.1, and then the 4th highest average bat speed at 75.5. So, man, I think we were all just kind of like wowed by it. We were all looking forward to seeing him, and yeah, like I said, he just did not disappoint. But Drew, I'll toss it over to you.
No, he's another guy that like just fires me up because he was on the ProCase team at the Illinois State games. And to me, that is where he like flourished on the radar. I was like, this guy has made incredible jumps, was showing all kinds of bat speed in game. And that's what stood out to me was like the in game with Dominic Batista, the way he was running down the line, the at bats he was taking, the swings he was taking in game, the way he was playing center field. And then you get him in a showcase setting and you get to track the numbers. And it's like, yeah, that makes so much sense. It was everything that we had seen in game. And he had even taken, he's taken way more strides since August. Running a 6.53 now, the bat strength and the strength that he's put on his frame, like he looked chiseled. I think he's listed at 6'1", 185-ish. And like, he's another guy that you can tell just gets after it. The fact that he's juicing balls the way he is with his frame, a 104 average exit velo it's crazy good. And I would just say that was one of the more like overarching takes I had from the entire Super 60 was just like, these kids are getting so physical. Like these average exit velocities and peak exit velocities and max batted ball distance that came out of the Super 60 were like hands down the highest numbers we have ever seen from multiple different players. But like for him to do it with his left-handed swing that is athletic, that's twitchy, that's not over swinging, that's spray gap to gap. Like, man, there's so many good things to say about Dominic Batista, but you factor in all the high-level tools with the way he plays the game, and this is a real prospect. I would be shocked if he doesn't have, a number of scouts following him throughout the spring at Oswego East. And like, UIC, I feel like we've gotten a lot of guys here today that we've talked about that are committed to UIC. Like they have done a really, really good job with these high school prospects and locking them up. But yeah, Dominic Batista, like we could probably talk all day on him. Um, and then TJ McCollum, I know you guys were talking about him and Chavi and Mount Carmel, and man, they're going to be another team to watch this spring. But like, it's hard to have a huge real take on TJ because he didn't run, because he didn't do defense. He just swung the bat at the Super 60, and it's 2 quick rounds of BP, and like we've seen that guy hit forever in game. We've seen him run before, so like I don't know if I have any huge like overarching takes, good or bad. Like it was McQuillan. Like the guy is gonna hit in game. He's gonna show feel to hit. He's gonna show power. To me, it was like these guys that holy cow made huge jumps, and it's like Dominic Batista jumped off the table. Like Anthony Chavez, what he has been doing. Like the fact that he ran the way he ran at the Super 60 after wowing us at the ProCase, it's just like those are the things that really stood out to me from the Super 60. Like Cameron Jenkins. We taught like he's a guy that used to go to Oswego. You guys saw him down at the Kickoff Classic. It was his sophomore year, and like everybody that saw him early that spring came back like wowed with the defense, with the athlete, with the swing. And we just kept seeing him and seeing him. We get him to the future games. Like he was one of my favorite guys on that team at the future games. But he was a long levered, lean frame, like highly athletic. And he's now down at Bob Jones in Alabama for his final senior season. And like I hadn't seen him in a while. Like he's been getting after it in the weight room. Like he's added all kinds of strength. And then it shows in the batted ball numbers. Like the guys that earn it off the field, the guys that are earning it in the weight room, the Anthony Chavez of the world, the Dominic Batistas who are changing their bodies, they're adding athleticism. Like, man, those are the guys that it shows. Like it pays off. Like there's no shortcuts. These guys are turning themselves into, they've been good and really good players. They're turning themselves into great prospects by the work they're doing off the field. And I love to see that. And it fires me up. And like Cameron Jenkins, looking at the frame, like it wowed me. I was like, dude, you've added all kinds of like quality muscle. Ran a 6.71, which he was never a burner before. He was always like around the 7 mark. 104.5 max EV, 97.6 average I see listed here. 417 max distance. But what stood out to me was like his first round of BP. It was like every swing he took was 100 plus EV and around the 400 foot batted ball mark. And it was repeat, pull side gap, pull side gap, pull side gap. And it was super impressive in my opinion. So I love to see that. I absolutely hate that he's not going to be in Illinois this spring season because I would love to go out and cross-check him. But those are just a couple takeaways that I had on all those guys, and appreciate you letting me get in there and getting long-winded like I love doing. But, man, these guys give us so much to talk about, and they represented Illinois in an awesome way at the event.
Yeah, I really agree about Jenkins. I thought, like you said, that first round, I was like, whoa. This kid, he's always had that power, that easy power. But yeah, like the way he gets to it without a lot of effort was really impressive. But one more thing about Batista, like that kid's always been, like he can bunt for a hit. He can shoot the gaps. Now he has juice and he can run and he's a center fielder. Like that takes his game to a whole new level. I mean, he was already intriguing. We already loved him. And like, he's just a real pro prospect now. And I'm super excited to follow him this spring because I think that kid has a chance to not only make some noise, but he should have guys on him for sure, 100%.
Caleb Cox, like his performance at the ProCase was eye-opening for me. He didn't quite repeat that at the Super 60. There could be a ton of reasons for that. Like he just threw a pen on Tuesday. He had 4 days rest, came back, threw another pen. That thing is a pressure cooker up there on the mound in front of all those eyes looking at you. But no matter what, like you just look at the young face he's got, the frame, the way his arm works. So, you could say it's kind of like it has some Jacob Mizorowski qualities to it. When you look at the way the frame is built, the way the arm works, the movement patterns, by no means is he throwing that, dynamite slider that Jacob Mizorowski figured out, and he's not throwing 102 yet or whatever it may be, but like that is the type of ceiling that wouldn't totally surprise me down the road if he gets to. Now, clearly, he's got a long way to go, but just the raw attributes he has, like he's going to intrigue a lot of people. And Northern Illinois got a steal right there in Mr. Caleb Cox. So really excited to see his future and what happens there. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything else you guys want to touch on with Super 60, anything I missed or regardless, it
Well,
was yeah.
no, I mean we can talk about the unsigned senior now if you want. I can get right into my
Let's do it.
the guy that made me think I might have still been at the Super 60 right out of the gate was Gavin Fuscone. It was sitting 91, getting up to 92 with a real slider, standing in at like 6'5". Like I genuinely like was like, because going from the Super 60 to the unsigned senior, like you're seeing these real draft prospects bumping 95. Like that's the best of the best. You're not sure what you're going to get at the unsigned senior, and you get a kid throwing 92. It's like, dude, you could have been over there. Like
Were
this
you
isn't
like,
much different.
hey, are you lost? Like the Super
Yeah,
60 was
like buddy,
was a
you're
couple
running late
hours
to your
ago.
bullpen over there. But no, he was great. Really in on like the operation. He's 92, and I could see that even getting firmer in the near future. Was a really really eye opening pen, and he can swing the bat a little bit too. But I like him on the mound. I think he is definitely a name that coaches need to check out and get on.
Yeah,
I
I'll
mean,
stay on the.
well,
Oh,
just
go
the
ahead,
fact
Drew.
that yeah, no, just the fact that he's 6'5". Like the fact that there's a 6'5" arm out there that's unsigned in the state right now that's up to 92. I don't know. I guess it's just there's probably more guys out there like that, and to those players, like be patient. And schools, like there's still a lot of players out there to be seen, and I think that's kind of what proved it to me was, Fiscone's not the only one, but it's like, man, there's still guys floating around up to 92 that are 6'5" in the state that aren't committed, and I give the unsigned senior players a ton of credit to get in front of us, to allow us to show them off, to let these coaches know out there that like, hey, this is still out there. This is available. We're going to get, quality video that we can put out there on Gavin, all of his metrics, and just really, really cool to see because, he had never shown us that in the past. And there's probably guys making jumps right now in the winter that'll come out this spring and need to be known. So I just give him a ton of credit for getting in front of us, letting him put his name out there, and just wanted to say that.
And I'll stay on the topic of arms because I had two really good ones that I'm very high on after this event. The first one being Cormac Saunders. I said you were going to hear about Homewood Flossmoor quite a bit this segment, and he's just the first of a few guys that showed really well for the Vikings at this event. Like, for me, like 4 pitches for strikes in real feel for all 4 pitches. His fastball was 84 to 86, but it was like really heavy through the zone with sink. A guy that, with that type of pitch in that conference, like I could see him missing a ton of bats. His curveball was 71 to 72. Ton of spin here. Actually led the event both in max RPMs at 2671 as well as average 2578. So a real feel for spin there with the curveball. The slider he could spin it a little bit as well. Like was sitting at 75. It was shorter bite, whereas the curveball to me was kind of that true 12-6. But the slider topped at 2432 on spin, average 2363. And then he was also mixing in a changeup, another pitch that had some heavy sink to it, but was absolutely killing spin with the changeup. Was averaging less than 1,000 RPMs on that pitch. So really liked Cormac, and I know that's a guy that's done well for HF for years now. Drew, I don't know if that's the angle you're going, but
Yeah.
feel free.
Well, we talked to Coach Marcus Rogers at the IHS BCA convention, and he mentioned, Cormac was super, super clutch for them last year. And I'm ticked because I don't know the exact number off the top of my head right now, but he went some crazy amount of innings without giving up a run last spring. So like for any coaches out there that want a performer that's got a ton of feel to pitch, and I think he was also raving like he was willing to go into any role that they needed him to go into. whether it's starter, reliever, throw, every other game, be that, lockdown closer for him. Like, man, people need to know about Cormac Saunders. So I love that call out.
Well, and the fact that if, he had that scoreless inning streak going, like, in that conference, that's super impressive. Like, you've got the Lincoln Waves there, you got Andrew, you got Sandberg, like, that conference is really loaded. So kudos to him. My last arm I want to touch on is Luke Arroyo, left-hander out of St. Lawrence. Lot to like here with the frame. He's got long levers, young look in the face too. So like this kid hasn't even really matured physically yet. A guy that like I would think colleges are going to be really, excited to talk to, especially the ones over there on Sunday. Fastball was 80 to 82, but it was deceptive. Like he kind of throws from that low slot, hides the ball really well and very late into his delivery. And then was tossing in a curveball that I really liked. It was 69 to 70, but kind of had some sweep to it. It was honestly like reminding me, just being a Reds fan, like watching Nick Lodolo pitch, like where the arm slot and how the ball comes out, it looks very similar. And then he was also mixing in a changeup, rounding out his mix at 75 to 77. To me, I really like the changeup, and I think was probably his best off-speed offering, a pitch that looks like it could really cause some swing and miss. So excited for Luke and excited to see if we can see him pitch this spring for St. Lawrence. But, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but like a team that's really vying for that preseason number 1 slot for us in the Power 25. And like the fact that they have this kid, waiting in the wings is, another embarrassment of riches there for St. Lawrence.
Absolutely. They barely lost anybody off their state championship team, and they had Tristan Stager behind the plate, a left-handed hitting catcher, and Luke Arroyo, like that's, man, they got a lot to like going into 2026. And Pete, you mentioned it getting into the unsigned senior, like you weren't sure if you were still at the Super 60 or not. Like when we got into hitting, I felt the same way with Asher Cantu. Asher Cantu from O'Fallon, he's a catcher. Really, really looks the part. Like his frame would have been one of the more impressive frames at the Super 60. He's 6'4", 222. Put on an absolute show in BP, in my opinion. Like it was loud. Max EV at 107.8. He averaged 97.7 off the bat. Furthest batted ball went 401 feet. Also had a 73.5 average bat speed and like was on the barrel like consistently. It was really impressive. It was super loud. I'm really excited to see what kind of senior season he can have for O'Fallon. He should be right in the middle of that order. And definitely, in my opinion, like has to be one of the top left-handed power bats still on the board. Like, yeah, in Illinois, but shoot, I'd venture to say in the Midwest. You don't find power like that just floating around anywhere with that kind of frame and the way he was just living on the barrel. And he's a guy like we've seen perform in game. So he drove all the way up from O'Fallon. So huge shout out there to Asher. Like also played tight end for the football team this year. Just seems like a hard-nosed kid, a guy that any program would love to have on their roster. And excited to see if he can punish some balls this spring and to see where he ends up and what his future looks like.
Yeah, totally agree. Like it was super loud, with big juice, and the defense was good too. It was solid. It was clean, clean footwork, clean arm. I think he was around like a 2-1 down the second, not cheating it. So quality defense was showing from him. But one guy I want to touch on really quick is Ryan Coven from Yorkville. Now he's a guy that we have seen a handful of times over the last like 6 months or so. And each time we've seen him, he's gotten better. He's a left-handed pitcher. First time we saw him, I think, was maybe in the summer. He was like 77-ish. And then we saw him in I believe the fall. It was around 80-ish. Now he's bumping 85. So it was just a really just felt genuinely happy and like good for that kid. Like the work he's putting in is showing, like he's getting stronger. You can tell the gains are clearly like actually coming to fruition, and like he's making jumps right in our own eyes. And it's just really one of those moments where like you just sit back and you're like, man, I'm like genuinely just happy for this kid. So I wanted to shout him out.
No, I love that. just to get the rest of the Homewood Flossmoor love out of the way, I'll touch on two of their outfielders that showed really well Sunday. The first being Evan Bradford, a guy we've kind of seen for a while, but really made some strides with his game, it seems. Like, ran a 6.78 60. Another guy who's super long levered, high-waisted kid. Still has plenty of room to add muscle and strength onto that frame, especially as he continues to get older. He was 88 from the outfield. Really liked how the arm played. It wasn't, the ball wasn't going all over the place. It was, right at us. And then he was had a 97.7 mile an hour max EV off the bat. Right-handed hitter. Like, with those levers to generate that type of pop, to me, is really impressive. Averaged 90.8 and then had a 352 max distance. So a guy that could kind of do it on both sides of the ball Sunday night. And then also in the outfield for Homewood Flossmoor, we had Calvin Stuckey Jr. out at the event, and ran a 6.61, but just a really athletic kid, it seemed, on both sides of the ball. Had a clean athletic swing, middle of the field approach from the right side, was 85 from the outfield, and was also clean and athletic defensively. So just two guys out of HF that, like, going to have to keep monitoring, and I would think schools are going to be interested in.
Yeah, I agree with both of those. Two athletic kids, their outfield should be pretty solid if that's what they're working with. But yeah, Bradford, like you said, long levered, lean. Like, there's a ton of room to add more strength. I don't have his actual height and weight in front of me, but I would guess it's like 6'4", 170-ish. The kid has a ton of room to add. And I like the swing. It's flat. It's through the zone. And I mean, there's some moving parts to it, but I think, like, there's definitely strength. And he's an athlete, so I could see it working in game. And same with Stuckey. Like, he's an athlete. I like the swing, clean arm from the outfield. So, like you said, two really intriguing guys for Homewood Flossmoor over there.
Yeah, 6'5", 180 for Bradford. So,
Okay.
Really impressive frame there. Last outfielder I want to touch on is Ahmad Garrett. Actually, we had our guy Charles Frady told us to keep an eye on this kid, and did not disappoint. Strong, physical-looking kid. Not sure on the high school just yet. I think he just recently moved here from the state of Texas, so not entirely sure where he'll be playing this spring, but ran a 6.69 and then had a 96 mile an hour max EV from the right side of the dish. But strong physical kid, pretty mature physically, so just really like what he did on both sides of the ball Sunday.
Yeah, definitely looks like he's in the weight room a lot. Like you said, like, he's got that strong right-handed swing. Definitely tries to lift the baseball, but he's strong enough to do it. Like, he gets away with it. That's his style. Like, he's trying to lift the baseball and do damage. And yeah, like, he can run. He can play the outfield. I think the arm was like in the low 80s off the top of my head. It was pretty clean. Definitely serviceable out there. But yeah, Charles Frady, shout out to him. Gave us a little heads up on him, and he definitely looks like an intriguing guy to follow. I actually had a few guys written down as well. Noah Gaeto from Emmonston, just another clean right-handed hitter. He was actually up to 99 miles an hour for the EV and averaged 90, so one of the better rounds of the day. Clean, liked it. Same with Greg Rueda from DePaul College Prep. I remember Drew walked up when he was hitting, and he kind of commented, he's like, oh man, DePaul's got some guys. Like, I thought it was loose and handsy, fluid. Like, I liked the look of it, liked the operation, some feel to hit. Definitely some upside there. And then, three more guys that I thought took good rounds of BP. I'm going to butcher this name, I think. Zach Wojtus from St. Edward. Just another flat athletic swing with athletic hands. Gets extension through the zone, whole field approach with feel to hit. Jack Thompson III from Johnsburg, balanced mid-90s exits, flat with a line drive approach, like the round, up to 95 for the EV. And then Andrew Schroeder from Lyle, really physical round of BP, up to 100 miles an hour. Just one of those, like, easy, simple, gets to his strength easily type kids, was able to lift the baseball. So yeah, it was a solid overall day with hitting. Like, I came away really happy with the turnout. Same with the coaches turnout. I thought there was a good amount of coaches there, and I thought there was plenty for them to look at. So it was an overall successful day in my eyes.
All right, that'll wrap up episode 56 of the Bullpen. We will be up at the O'Hare Preseason ID this weekend, this Sunday. So keep an eye out, for that event. Check out the rosters if you're interested, and if you're interested in heading to the event, be sure to register for that event at the Bow Dome near O'Hare. What is it, Bensonville, technically? So yeah, we'll be there this Sunday. But appreciate you listening as always.
Wait.
Comment.
Real quick, sorry to cut you off. Who's everybody got winning the Super Bowl? I can't believe we neglected this.
Seahawks.
I'm going Seahawks as well.
I don't know. I guess I'll go Patriots then. Yeah. I just want to see a good game. I could care less about both those teams.
Same.
I guess maybe I'd root for Darnold, but yeah, and out of that Caleb Williams draft class, I guess I wouldn't want to see Drake May win the first Super Bowl out of that draft class.
That's a good point. Good point.
Big Velus Jones fan, got to root for the Seahawks.
Just give me a good Super Bowl. That would be awesome.
All right, be sure to like, comment, subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Apple and Spotify podcasts, and rate us on Spotify podcasts.
Don't forget to rate that. Yeah, follow us. Appreciate everybody out there. Can't wait to get going on more events and seeing more players.